Things you never knew Muslims do in Ramadan. Ramadan is a very interesting time for millions of followers of the Muslim faith, as it is the holiest month of the year, according to Islam. It is a month of intense prayer, fasting, and feasting. Of course, there are all sorts of things that people outside of Islam do not know about this period of the year that is almost upon us. So let's take a look at the various things that Muslim people do during this festival. Here are 10 things that you never knew Muslims do, and some traditions that are upheld on Ramadan. Number 1. Fasting for the less fortunate. One of the most prominent aspects of Ramadan is the way that Muslims must fast during the festival. By day, they will consume nothing, not even water. This lasts from dawn until sunset and is done every day for the duration of the holy month. The idea behind the fast is to allow the faithful to experience a feeling of being closer to God by reminding them that there are others in the world who are less fortunate than they are and may be starving. Number 2. No smoking. Because Ramadan is a time to detach from worldly pleasures and focus on the inner self, the fast is also a way to purify the body. It's about more than just consuming food though, as purification also means the faithful cannot consume any substances like caffeine or nicotine. Abstinence from eating and drinking for the entire day is tough enough, but if someone is a smoker, they will have to quit. Even a single puff of a cigarette or a sip of water during the day is enough to consider the fast invalid. Number 3. Be on your best behavior. While fasting, it is not enough to just avoid food and drink during the day. Ramadan is also a time to exercise restraint from other pleasures and negative behaviors. Muslims are encouraged not to gossip or argue with their peers, co-workers, or partners during the time, and sexual intercourse between spouses is also strictly forbidden during the daytime fast. This is, again, to bring about a sense of purity and an increased awareness of the suffering of others, and it is a challenging time for all Muslim people. Of course, your body hungers for food, drink, sex, and other things that it is used to, so it is extremely difficult to endure the rejection of all things like this. Number 4. Preparing for fasting. One of the ways that Muslims are able to prepare their bodies for lengthy periods of fasting is to get up very early in the morning, before the sun rises, and eat a pre-dawn meal of power foods that will be able to carry them throughout the day. This meal is called suhoor, and it varies from country to country. For example, in Egypt, the meal is made of mashed fava beans called ful that are spiced with cumin and olive oil, while in Lebanon and Syria, the suhoor is flatbread with cheese, thyme, or yogurt. Meanwhile, in Afghanistan, people eat dumplings stuffed with vegetables like potatoes or leeks, which are steamed and then fried. They also eat dates. Number 5. Feasting by night. Of course, if you were to fast 24 hours a day, you wouldn't be around to pray for very long, and so it is necessary to consume some calories after sunset. Muslims traditionally mimic the way that the Prophet Muhammad is said to have done the same around 1,400 years ago, by having a sip of water and some dates at sunset. As you can probably imagine, after having nothing at all for the entire duration of daylight, that first sip of water is the most anticipated moment of the day. After sunset prayers, a huge feast known as iftar is shared with family and friends. Iftar is a social event as well as a bodily one, and across the Arab world, one of its staples is apricot juice. though in some countries, yogurt-based drinks are the popular choice. Every night of Ramadan, local mosques will set up tents and tables for members of the public to have free iftar meals. Number 6. Exemptions. Now, it does need to be considered that young children and elderly people may be unable or lack the comprehension to understand the fast, and so concessions are made for those people. Babies, for example, must eat when they must eat, and so must the elderly. So, while the fast itself may seem strange, it does at least acknowledge that circumstances may prevent a person from fasting. It's not just children or the elderly either. Other groups that are exempted from the fast include pregnant women, or those who are nursing or menstruating, travelers, and athletes. Most Muslims, particularly those who live in the United States, the United Kingdom, and Europe, are fairly accepting of others who do not observe Ramadan. Number 7. Strict punishment. Of course, that only applies to those Muslims living in traditionally non-Islamic countries. In some Middle Eastern countries, such as Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, it is illegal to eat in public during the day, even if you are not a Muslim. Those who cross this line can be fined or even jailed, as these countries are home to large Western expat populations. They must be careful to observe the laws of the land, and those laws often come from religion in the Middle East. Restaurants that are open will have curtains up that can conceal those who eat during the day. If they're even open, that is. Number 8. Temporarily closed. In lots of predominantly Muslim countries like Indonesia, for example, lots of places that would traditionally be spots for gathering, such as bars, nightclubs, karaoke venues, and the like, are closed for the entire month. This could be because of a desire to avoid temptation, but more likely than not, it is because nobody is going to be going out to drink and eat when they are on a holy fast. This ties into the laws about public eating, which was described as not an act of personal freedom but chaos, an assault on Islam by the Dar al-Ifta in Egypt, which is the principal authority in charge of editing the religious rules surrounding this issue. Number 9. Other traditions. At the start of the month-long festival, a special greeting is used, Ramadan Kareem. And for the entire duration of the month, there are nightly prayers at mosques. In Egypt, the tradition is to have lanterns called fanus, which are often the centerpiece of an iftar banquet table or can be seen in shop windows and from balconies. Meanwhile, in the Arabian Gulf, wealthy families hold majlises, where they open their homes to people who may need to stop by during the night for food, tea, coffee, and chat. Number 10. The end of Ramadan. Towards the end of the month, the end of Ramadan is marked by a period of intense worship, as Muslims try to have their prayers answered during Laylat al-Qadr, which translates to Night of Destiny. On this night, which falls during the final 10 days of Ramadan, Muslims believe that God sent an angel to the Prophet Muhammad and presented the first verses of the Holy Quran. There is a 3-day holiday at the end called Eid al-Fitr, where children are often given clothes, gifts, and money. On the day after the end of the festival, morning Eid prayers take place, and families will often spend the day enjoying food in the daytime at parks and other leisure locations. And there you go. These were 10 things you might not have known that Muslims do during Ramadan. It's a period of challenge and purification, but one that renews the faith in the faithful. But what do you think about these practices? This is another informative report from Best of Tens. Be sure to smack that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, ring the notification bell, and share this video.